Okay, so here we are at the end of the year. This is the first full year that my channel has existed. I started it at the tail end of last year, the beginning of the club season here up north. But 2023 has been a great year for rugby and a great year for my channel as well. Start of the year in January, Johnny Sexton played his last game for Leinster. At the time, nobody knew it was going to be his last, but that's how it turned out. Great servant for Leinster and for Ireland, and he'll be sorely missed. But, as one giant of the game steps away, and many did after World Cup, it leaves room then for others to flourish and to grow. So that's exciting for the future. After that, then we had the Six Nations, Ireland claiming the Grand Slam, that epic game between Ireland and France, and that Dupont tackle on Mac Hansen, that was just absolutely out of this world. Then URC, Munster sneaking up on the rails to win the title. Jack Crowley emerging to become the favourite to replace Johnny Sexton in that Ireland shirt when we go back, to internationals next year. Then we had Champions Cup, South African sides coming in there. A lot of controversy about whether they should come in. A lot of it coming from English media, but having seen them in the URC this season previous, I knew they would add a lot to the competition, and they absolutely did. They belong there. I don't care about hemisphere and blah 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 and whatever, or non-European, anything like that. They, as far as I'm concerned, they're in the competition. They're competitive, and they make the competition better. I don't know what's not to like about that. And they're going to build, you can already see they're going to build huge rivalries as well over the years with that, and just make this competition better. And, in 10 years' time, people will wonder why there was such a fuss about them joining in the first place. Then we had Women's Six Nations. England were so good going to getting themselves a title, but the likes of Wales, Scotland and Italy, they all showed that they're going to make it tougher for England and France in the future. It's not going to be a two-horse race anymore, at least not as easy to trot for those two teams as it has been for such a long time. And the professionalization of the women's game is long overdue, and it's great to see it coming. I know some people still talk it down, and I don't understand why, because the women's game, we're looking to grow the game, and the women's game is a chance over, it might take a few years to do it, but to basically double the size of revenue and the market and everything for the game. So why not? But then, also in the Six Nations, Ireland, they didn't do so well, but at least I think the fallout is leading to some positive changes, but there still needs to be a lot more changes in Ireland in terms of support for not only the women's game, but the sevens game as well, and not this whole thing of either or crap like that. We need to be brave, and we need to invest in our future. And if that means that we, have some hardship now and maybe not make as much profit as we would like to, that investment is absolutely going to pay off, multiple fold in the future. So for me, it's just an easy thing. And I think, it's just old attitudes that need to be kind of swept out of the Irish game, but also out of the game in total. And we're seeing that happening, but it's probably, needs to pick up a little bit more pace. After that, then we had the Rugby Championship, where New Zealand showed that they're on their way back. People completely wrote them off after the series defeat to Ireland last year, but they showed, in New Zealand, a bad New Zealand side is still better than most sides in the world. And then they were shown like they were actually coming back to decent form as well there. Then had an amazing Rugby World Cup. Kudos to France putting on such an amazing tournament. At least once they sorted the anthems out, the first week were terrible. But the fan engagement was brilliant from them. Not so brilliant from World Rugby, who were banning videos left, right, and centre, and they still don't understand social media and what things like clips on YouTube or on Twitter or wherever can actually do for the game. And again, you need a new broom in there, I think, to sort it out. But we had that absolutely brilliant weekend of rugby. That was the quarterfinals, where we saw two of the best Rugby World Cup games of all time. The Ireland, New Zealand, and France, South Africa were just on another level. And the other two quarterfinals weren't bad. They just, when you're going against like some of the greatest games ever of rugby to be played in or outside of Rugby World Cup, it's hard to compete. But they did add to that whole weekend still, and played a part too. And that was probably the peak of the tournament. But still, well done to the Springboks, going back to back, winning Rugby World Cups, and that title is well deserved for them. Like, they come back from that defeat in the pool against Ireland, worked away. They won their quarterfinal by 1 point, then they won their semi-final by 1 point, and then they won the trophy by 1 point as well. And people knocked them a lot. I've got huge respect for the Springboks and South African rugby. I don't like some of the antics, but in terms of the players, the fans, and even like most of the coaches as well, I've got just huge respect for them, because they're such innovators. In terms of the coaches, the fans, every set of fans has assholes in it, but generally I think South African fans are pretty okay, other than stick that they give the referees. But yeah, absolutely deserved win for them, and I'm glad to see it. Then URC, even before the World Cup finished, started back up, and it was just hyper competitive. We had Zebre winning for the first time in over a year, and we've got just teams beating each other left, right and centre, whereas last year it was like, here's the group of good teams, and here's the group of middle teams, and here's the group of poor teams. Now this year it's not so clear where those lines are, and long may that continue. And it kind of gives us a glimpse of what this competition really could be, with buy-in from each of the nations that are there, and each of the provinces, clubs, regions, wherever you want to call them, that are in there as well. So hopefully that will continue in the future. We've just had the first two rounds as well of the Champions Cup, with yet another format change. But at least the rugby was really good, especially the last round that we saw. That was so many good games there. And now we have all the derbies happening as well in the URC, and that's always an exciting time of the year, because there's a lot of kind of edge and rivalry in there, and that's something that we can't lose in rugby either. Like, fans can all be friendly with each other, but you can still have that rivalry. And in Ireland we call it slagging. Like, a bit of slagging and stuff never goes amiss, because it's never done with malice. And I think that's a lot of it's important in rugby, is that you can kind of slag someone off, or you can disagree with them or whatever, but you can still sit down and have a pint with them, and just talk about rugby for hours and hours. And that's why part of the reason why I love the sport. Then from an Irish perspective, we got Leinster winning, but not looking all that convincing to me. You still haven't, clicked into anything near top gear. But there, it is kind of a new coaching setup there, so there's a bit of time for that to bed in. Munster, they've been starting games really, really well, but kind of the fall off that they've had, is a little bit alarming, honestly. And that's something that needs to be sorted out. But again, kinks maybe that have to be sorted out. But Ulster look like a province to me that are in crisis. And I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see major changes there at the end of this season, if they're not able, like, even if they do find some consistency and get into, like, the knockout stages, or lose another quarterfinal or semi-final, I still think major changes are needed there, because something is not right in that squad. Connacht then, post Andy Friend, still finding their feet and need a bit more consistency again, kind of like Leinster, where new coaching setup needs to bed in there. And Andy Friend was so good for Connacht as well. It's really hard act to follow. But all of these kind of make me a little bit worried, honestly, about Ireland going into the Six Nations. But at the same time, I'm watching, most of these games, almost the Irish problem is pretty much every game. But there's so much young talent coming through at every one of our provinces. And because of that, then, even though I'm worried about the Six Nations, the long-term future looks rather bright for us, and that's great to see. In terms of then my channel, we've seen absolutely massive growth, and that's obviously all down to you guys. At the start of the year, channel was very small. It's not massive now, but it's a lot bigger than it was. But I set myself a goal that I felt was very ambitious, and that was to reach 500 subscribers by the end of this year. We didn't quite make it, but we got so close to it. And, you know, I know, honestly, when I set that goal, I thought, yeah, no way I'm getting anywhere near that. But geez, you guys did me proud. Like, you got me so close to it. And, you know, a big thanks has to go out to all of you who stuck with me through. You know I had audio issues and quality issues with some of the videos and stuff like that, but you still stuck by me, and I'm really, really appreciative of that. And, you know, you guys just keep coming back, you know, posting comments, liking, and just boosting the videos so much. The algorithm loves that kind of stuff, and you guys really help to get my videos out there when they could be just lost in just the big massive pool that is YouTube. And I can never say thank you enough, because I'm always really humbled at the fact that people take time out of the day to listen to me ramble about rugby. And that's something that I'm never going to get used to. But at the same time, I really, really appreciate it. And as I said, I can't say thank you enough for that, but just know that I really do appreciate it. Also, I've been experimenting with a few different formats with videos, especially recently, using actual footage for roundups and then in stats videos and things like that. Those take a much longer time to put together, so they're kind of going to be few and far between for the moment. I might kind of bring them back a little bit for I was going to say Six Nations, but I think they're another one that kind of take your videos down, so we'll have to see. So it might just be URC for the moment, but I'm going to put more of them together in the future, at least, and try and make it a more regular thing as I kind of get the format kind of pinned down a little bit. Also, there's going to be a mix of those. We're going to have the usual kind of graphics and me chatting beside them that we have for reviews and roundups and stuff like that. And also ones like this where I'm just chatting to the camera as well. So I'm kind of get a mix of all of those, because I know some people prefer different formats. Also, just got to say, like, that this year, in terms of rugby content on this website has just been amazing. Like, I've been so inspired by so many content creators. I can't mention them all. I'll mention a few that have kind of stuck out to me, and those would be, like, the first one would be Squidge Rugby. That guy is just his knowledge and his tactical awareness on the game is just so good. I learned so much from watching his videos, and so enjoyable as well. Then Tony from Distracted Sports, he doesn't make that many videos, but when he does, they're always crackers. And then we got Rian Lowe, who is, for my money, the funniest South African on the internet. And we got Paul Williams, a Welshman who actually likes the URC, and his summaries are just so good. He hits the nail on the head, whereas I can spend 20 minutes talking about a game, he can sum it up in like 5 words and just absolutely nail it. Then we got Caelan S. Rugby, so knowledgeable about Irish rugby and rugby in general, and such a good source as well. If you want to, like, he pulls different people in and he can get different perspectives on his content as well. He's just so good to see there. And then we've also got, there's just so many more, but there is one person who I owe a huge thanks to, and that is Mark from 2 Cents Rugby. He's appeared on the channel a number of times. He obviously didn't need to, but I reached out to him. He said yes, and the other times when I asked him, he, without hesitation, said yeah, he'd love to chat. And it's just great for him to take the time, to do that, and hopefully he's going to be back on the channel next year as well. And Mark, if you're watching, just want to say a very in Ireland we don't say Merry Christmas, we say Happy Christmas. So very happy Christmas to you and Gaza, and that goes to all of you guys watching as well. I hope that 2024 is the best years of your lives so far, and thanks again for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next one.